There's a new study out that suggests when you start exercising relative to menopause might matter as much as whether you exercise at all. And that has real implications for how we think about brain health. That's in today's episode, along with some fresh WFHI data on HRT and migraines that's worth knowing about if headaches are part of your life.
Hi there, I'm Tony Lee, and this is Hot Flasher, your daily menopause podcast that serves up fresh news, research, and wellness tips. I've built a daily news pipeline to find the latest on women's health and menopause research. Allow me to introduce my co-host, Nikki, who handles the headlines. Take it away, Nikki.
Thanks, Tony. We've got a good one today. 3 things on the table this episode. A study about exercise and dementia risk that reframes the timing question in a way I wasn't expecting, some new data out of the WHI on HRT and migraines, and a piece of research that covers a population the menopause conversation almost never makes room for. So, let's get into it. The first item is a July 2026 paper by Lim and colleagues published on PubMed, and the title is Role of Physical Activity in Protecting Against Dementia According to Menopausal Status, which is a dry title for something genuinely worth slowing down for. We already have a solid body of evidence that physical activity reduces dementia risk. That part isn't new. What this study is doing is asking a more specific question. Does menopausal status change how protective that activity is? And the answer appears to be yes. The implication is that timing relative to menopause isn't just a lifestyle variable. It may be a brain health variable, which is a meaningful shift from the general exercise is good, do more of it message. We've been there. Most women have heard that. This is something different. It's asking whether the window during which you're active might matter, not just the volume or the consistency, but the relationship between your hormonal transition and when physical activity is present in your life. I want to be honest about what I don't know yet from the abstract alone. I haven't been able to review the full methods section, and the details matter here. How was menopausal status defined and confirmed? What activity types were included? How large was the sample? And was this a prospective design or something more observational? Those are the questions that determine whether this is a finding worth acting on or a finding worth following. Right now, I'd put it in the worth following closely category and worth bringing to your doctor if you're in perimenopause and thinking about when and how to build activity into your life. What I will say with more confidence is that this kind of research is exactly what the field needs. For a long time, dementia research and menopause research have run on parallel tracks that didn't talk to each other much. The growing interest in the intersection, estrogen's role in brain metabolism, the timing hypothesis around hormone therapy, and now this kind of exercise timing work feels like the field's starting to catch up to what the biology was probably always suggesting. The brain doesn't sit outside the hormonal transition. It's right in the middle of it. The second item is one that stopped me. Published in Menopause, the Journal of the North American Menopause Society, this is a paper on menopause experience among people with criminal legal system involvement. And if you're surprised that this study exists, that's kind of the point. The conclusion is blunt. Women with a history of criminal legal system involvement commonly experience menopausal symptoms, some of which are severe in the context of circumstances that compound the barriers to accessing care. Think about what that actually means. You're already in a system that isn't designed to accommodate your health needs at baseline. Add menopause, the hot flashes, the sleep disruption, the mood changes, the cognitive symptoms, and you have a set of experiences that are already difficult to manage for women with full healthcare access, happening to women who often have almost none. No consistent provider, hostile or indifferent institutional environments, limited ability to advocate for yourself. The kind of appointment scheduling and follow-up that managing menopause symptoms actually requires is essentially inaccessible. There's also something worth saying about the research itself. The menopause conversation, including on this show, overwhelmingly centres women who have the kind of access and stability that lets them seek out information, follow studies, consider HRT, join RR menopause. That's a real selection bias in who the conversation reaches and, frankly, in who the research tends to study. Papers like this one are not glamorous. They don't generate wellness content. They're not going to sell supplements, but they're documenting a failure of care that's happening to real women right now, and that matters. The medical system isn't just undertrained on menopause in general. It's also not designed to reach women who are incarcerated, on parole, cycling in and out of the legal system. The 5-minute appointment that already fails most perimenopausal women is not even that for a lot of the women this paper is talking about. They often have no appointment at all. I think this paper deserves more attention than it's going to get. Salzman Dentane. The third item is new data from the Women's Health Initiative Hormone Therapy Clinical Trials, published July 8th by Crow and colleagues. The paper looks at menopausal hormone therapy, migraine history, and headache severity. This is relevant to a lot of people. Migraine is already disproportionately common in women, and perimenopause is a known trigger period. Fluctuating estrogen is well established as a migraine driver. So the question of what happens to headache patterns when you add hormone therapy is a clinically real one that a lot of women and their doctors are navigating. The WHI data is useful here because it's a large clinical trial with actual follow-up, not a survey. That gives it more weight than a lot of the headache and hormone literature, which tends to be smaller and more observational. The kind of evidence that would show up on a tool like Open Evidence, the synthesized guideline relevant tier, would take this seriously. I don't want to oversimplify the findings because the relationship between HRT and migraine is genuinely complicated. Migraine history, the type of hormone therapy, the delivery method, and where a woman is in her hormonal transition all interact. What the WHI data adds is a larger sample and a more rigorous structure to examine those associations. That's valuable. My read: if you have a migraine history and you're on hormone therapy or considering it, this is a conversation to have with your doctor. Not because this paper is sounding an alarm, but because migraine history is a variable that should be on the table when you're making that decision together. Transdermal delivery, for instance, produces more stable estrogen levels than oral forms, and there's existing evidence that more stable levels are generally better for migraine. Whether this WHI analysis has anything to add to that picture specifically, I'd want to read the full paper to say. What I do think is clear: the overlap between migraine sufferers and perimenopausal women is large, and it's been understudied relative to how common it is. The fact that the WHI is producing targeted analyses like this one, not just the headline cardiovascular and cancer findings that dominated coverage for 2 decades, is how the data gets more useful over time. The WHI isn't just one study from 2002. It's a data set that researchers are still mining, and this is a good example of why that matters.
Thanks for listening to Hot Flasher. We're back tomorrow with more, so don't forget to subscribe. See you tomorrow.